It was 50 years ago this year that San Diego celebrated its bicentennial. I remember it well growing up in San Diego, and the city started, of course, with the founding of the mission. The first mission of the 21, the chain of 21, started by now Saint Junipero Serra. It's very near and dear to my heart since I grew up a little over 3 miles away from that mission, and I went by there a lot. I visited there a lot. It's still a thriving parish, and in fact, it's the last parish place where I lived in San Diego before I moved up north here to the Bay Area. It was a great celebration at that time, and that mission really establishes the first presence of the Christian faith in San Diego, in California. There is a very palpable presence of Saint Junipero Serra there. The room he lived in is still preserved, very austere. And it's a reminder of what those early Franciscan missionaries sacrificed for the sake of the native population that they were serving, they were evangelizing, they were educating, the care that they had for them. The mission actually started closer to where the bay is, where they established the presidio, the barracks for the soldiers and the mission, but after a few years they figured out they needed to move the Indians away from the soldiers to protect them. So the mission moved further inland by the river, and we look at the chain of the 21 missions. Whenever there's a presidio, it's several miles away from the mission. That was what Saint Junipero Serra and those early Franciscan missionaries were like. He developed a great love for the people he was serving. He even walked all the way back to Mexico City to receive special faculties from the Viceroy of secular governance in order to protect them. I would like to express gratitude to Pope Francis for the canonization of Saint Junipero Serra, at which I was present in Washington, D.C. So recognizing someone as a saint means they exemplified heroic virtue. That's what we all need to strive after. I should add that Saint Junipero, he had a bad leg. It was very painful for him. It was painful to walk. He walked all the way to San Diego to begin the chain of missions, and he walked all the way back to Mexico City and then back again. So it's an example of the heroic virtue that characterized his care for the people he served. So what we need to do, and people, especially young people, are striving to grow in that way, in sharing God's love for the poor, need to begin to live a life of virtue, need to be focused on others, focusing on the good of others before their own good, and to be able to sacrifice for the good of others. That's what opens up our heart to the other. That's what creates within us a space in the heart, greater capacity to receive and share God's love, which makes possible communion, which is what God created us for. There's so much isolation in the world today because people are closed in on themselves. We can try to strive to grow in virtue and continue to grow even to the point of heroic virtue. It requires great sacrifice, but it's what is necessary to really know God's love. We need to appreciate what those early Franciscan missionaries were doing and the legacy they left to our state, and the example we need to learn for them of protecting for those who are vulnerable to abuses from others who would take advantage of them. So it's a time for Thanksgiving, and it's a time to renew ourselves in our desire to spread God's love to others. I pray God's blessing upon all those watching this, that God's blessing might accompany you throughout this weekend, that He might keep uppermost in your minds and hearts to consecrate His day, the Lord's Day, to Him by worship with His people and by caring for those in need, and by remembering Him all throughout the day, dedicating time to special prayer. May His blessing come upon you and remain with you forever, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen.